I'm Crystal. I am almost 50 years old and I am trying out a bunch of new things in this stage of my life. One of the things I tried was reselling thrift clothes for 30 days and to see what that process was like and if I could actually make money. And I got so many comments on that video and lots of questions. So since there were so many questions on the process and shipping and all that, I thought I would just do a video on my process from start to finish. So from the point of when I bring the clothes home from the thrift stores all the way to the end when I make the sale. So this is my own system. Everybody has their way of doing things, but this just works out for me right now, especially as a beginner. And before we jump in, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the comments on that last video. It's been so great hearing from everybody and getting all those tips and advice. There were some really great tips in there, but okay, so let's jump in. So right now I am only thrifting from Goodwill outlet bins. And the last time I was there, I got a really bad allergy attack. So now what I do when I come home, I have it in the bag and I go immediately outside. I don't bring it into my house right away. So I go out on my back deck and I take out the clothes there, and I have my clothing rack out there as well. So what I do is with my mask on, I shake out the clothing items really well, just so I can have like all the dust out. Whatever particles were on there that were like giving me the allergy attack, I just want to just shake it all off. I also want to have it out in the sun for a little bit too, just to air it out a bit. And I leave it out there on the back deck for about 30 minutes to an hour, just so it gets some sunlight and it gets some fresh air. And then once that's done, then I wash whatever I can. And the things that I cannot wash, like items with new with tags or fine fabrics like wool or silk, I'll steam them. So that's another disinfecting kind of process where you can clean the clothing items. While I'm doing this is when I also find where there are holes in the items or if there's stains. And usually if it's a little stain, I'll try to clean it out. Or I'll just list it and say and note it that there is a flaw in the clothing item. But if it's a really bad stain or a really bad hole, I just won't list it at all, just because I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I do steam the clothing items too, so I could get all the wrinkles out as well. But all the wrinkles will not come out on some of these items. So when I take pictures of it, there are still wrinkles on it. And there was like a few comments saying like, you need to take the wrinkles out. Like it was driving them crazy. I'm so sorry, but I tried my best. Like I actually have 2 steamers just to see like which one works better. But sometimes I just cannot get those wrinkles out. And I'm afraid to iron the clothing items because I don't want to ruin the fabric. But I don't know. I think I might have to do it and test it out on some linen clothing because, yeah, the steamer just is not cutting it and not getting the wrinkles out. So once everything is clean, then it's time to photograph and measure everything. So as I'm photographing the clothing items, I will measure it at the same time. For tops and dresses, coats, I use the mannequin to photograph the items because it does photograph really nice. It makes the picture look more, there's just more depth to the clothing item when you put it on a mannequin. So then I take every angle I can from the mannequin, like from the front, the sides, the back, and then I get like a top view of the clothing item as well. And then now what I do is instead of measuring the clothing item on the mannequin, now I take it to my little coffee table that I have in my living room and I lay it flat there and I measure out the length and the width. This way you can get like a more accurate measurement than getting it on the mannequin. For the width, it's usually the pit to pit measurement. And the length is usually, the top to bottom. And then for bottoms, I usually photograph them on the coffee table or the floor or hang them up on a hanger on my door. So lately though, I've been doing more of the floor method, just laying it out on the floor, because I can also get measurements easily that way too. It's easy to photograph the measurements of the pants on the floor. And for pants, it's a little bit different. You want to get the measurements of the waist and then the front rise Front rise is a big deal to a lot of the women because they want to know how high-waisted the pants are. And then you want to get the inseam, which is like the inside of the pants. I try to photograph as many angles as I can, any details, close-up details, tags. You want to get the tag of the brand name and the size. But there have been times where there are no tags on the clothing item. But don't let that, deter you, because I did get like these pair of jeans at the bins. It had no tags on it, but I liked the style of it. So I decided to get it anyway. And I'm glad I did, because after measuring it, it turned out to be like a size 8-ish, and that sold within a day. And then of course, take a picture of any flaws that you see, and you want us to note that in the listing once you get to the listing stage. After I take all the pictures and measurements, then I come to my little scale and I weigh the item, because each platform is different on how they calculate the shipping. Poshmark is a flat rate, but all the other platforms, it depends on what weight it is to determine the shipping cost. Now onto the research. So for each item, what I do is I take one of the pictures that I took and upload it to Google Lens. And I would say like 80% of the time, it knows what that clothing item is. And it'll tell me what the brand is, what type of clothing item it is, the description, links to the clothing item. Like it's fantastic. And then once I have those details, then I go to ChatGPT and I upload a few photos that I took and the notes that I have on it with the measurements, whatever I got from Google, and input that in ChatGPT and ask it to give me the title, the description, estimated retail price, suggested listing price, style tags, and hashtags. Since I do this all the time, like I do this repeatedly, what I did was I just made that prompt into one single word. So for my prompt, I just type in $list, and that automatically knows that that's the command for giving me all the descriptions for a listing. If you don't want to type in the same thing all the time on ChatGPT, you can actually make your own prompt and have ChatGPT remember that prompt for you. So, you can just say, hey, just remember that anytime I type in $list or whatever you want the prompt to be, it means I want you to do these commands, and it'll just do it within seconds. So yeah, this is such a time saver. I used to have to come up with descriptions, which I'm not very good at. And keywords and titles are everything. So ChatGPT does such a great job of giving all the details for you. I probably spent about 15-20 minutes before coming up with the title and descriptions, and now I can do it within seconds. For pricing, I compare the comps on eBay. So whatever that item sold for on eBay, what that average price was. And then also look at ChatGPT's suggested listing price and kind of come in between those two prices, but also a little bit higher than that, because most of the time people are going to come with offers, or I'm going to offer them a discount. So a lot of the times buyers will like or favorite your item, and I will give them a discount of 10% on Poshmark, usually with a discounted shipping. And then on eBay, I'll usually offer a 15% discount. And Depop and Vinted, usually about like 10%, I would say. So yeah, I'm always going to come down from what I list it as. I mean, every once in a while though, people do buy it for the asking price and don't even offer or counter offer anything. So those are the best. Also on Depop and Vinted, I don't price as high as I do on Poshmark and eBay, because Depop doesn't charge a seller fee. They just charge a processing fee. Unless you promote the item at 12%, which isn't that much either, then, they'll take that fee. But otherwise, it's just a processing fee, which is very minimal. Vinted, they don't charge any seller fees as of now. And so you get to keep all of the profit. So that's why I price out the items a little bit lower on those platforms. Okay, so now it's time to list the item. So I cross-list on multiple platforms. My main ones are Poshmark and eBay. And this year, this is pretty recent for me, I started listing on Depop and Vinted. Poshmark is always my best platform. eBay is second. And then actually, I don't know, I would say like eBay, Depop, and Vinted have like pretty similar sales, like amount of sales. I used to list each item manually. And when I was just selling my own items, my personal items, it wasn't like a big deal to me. But now that I'm starting to resell items, I thought it would be a good idea to look into cross-listing apps. And the popular ones are Nifty and Listing Perfectly. Nifty, by far, everybody uses more, I think. Like a lot of the reseller videos that I watch, a lot of them are using Nifty. But I looked at the prices and they're pretty expensive. So since I'm not a full-time reseller, I mean, barely a part-time reseller, I thought I would just look into something that was more affordable. So Vendoo was one of the cross-listing apps that I found, and it was like at a reasonable price. Plus it gave me a 14-day free trial. So I decided to go with that. And I'm using that for now. And I like it so far, but I might, eventually upgrade to Nifty when it comes to it. But for now, Vendoo works. So what I do is I open the Vendoo app and upload all the pictures that I took. Then I save the drafts, and then I will come to my desktop and finish out the listings there, because it's just faster for me to type out everything on my desktop with a keyboard rather than doing everything on the mobile app. I mean, you can do everything on your mobile app. It's just a lot faster and easier for me to do it on the desktop. Yeah, so once I go on Vendoo and finish the listing, then I can list it to eBay, Poshmark, and Depop, essentially all at the same time. So yeah, this is a huge time saver too. And I'm glad I invested in it, because now I'm not wasting time, spending like 15 or however many minutes it was, like 10 minutes each on each platform. And, so that's like, what, 30 minutes for each item? Now I can just spend, 10 minutes max and listed on 3 platforms. Vendoo does not support Vinted, so I do upload pictures manually to Vinted only, but it's not, that much of an extra process. Sometimes I'll skip it, like maybe, this won't be like a Vinted thing, but most of the time I do list on Vinted too. And I do the same process. I'll upload the pictures on the mobile app, and then I'll come to the desktop and finish out all the details. If you do start out listing to each platform manually, that's fine too. And I think that's where you should start, because that's where I started. And just get used to the app itself to see what categories there are, what it looks for. Like Poshmark, for example, has style tags. Depop uses hashtags. eBay uses item specifics. Vinted, has some other things. So each platform is a little bit different. So I would just, get used to each platform manually first and see how you like it. And then after you get used to using each platform, you can, transition into the cross-listing app, especially if you're gonna, get right into the reselling business. Okay, so now on to shipping. This was by far the most asked question on that video. Everybody was wondering how much shipping costs. So good news, if you're selling, the buyer pays the shipping costs. Seller does not pay for the shipping. So Poshmark has a flat rate shipping fee of $6.49 right now. Every platform uses USPS Ground Advantage, except for Vinted. Vinted does use USPS Ground Advantage, but the buyer also has the option to select FedEx if they want it shipped that way. So Poshmark has a flat rate shipping fee. eBay, it depends on how much the item weighs, so it's very precise with the shipping cost. Depop and Vinted, they go off of tiers. Depop has many tiers. I think it has like 6 to 8 different tiers of how much the item weighs. And Vinted has 3 tiers, small, medium, and large. If you can guess the weight, you can get away with not using a scale for Depop and Vinted, but then you also risk not calculating it right and having the item shipped back to you, or worse, you just have to pay more for shipping, and you never want to do that. So to be extra careful, I do weigh everything. But if you don't want to weigh things, you can just start off with Poshmark, because you don't have to weigh anything on Poshmark because they charge a flat shipping rate. But they do have the most hefty seller fees for the convenience. And then once the item sells, the platform generates a shipping label for you. So you can either print a shipping label or you can generate a QR code. And you can take that QR code to the post office and they'll just print out a label for you. I personally like to print the label out myself. I actually have a label maker now and it works out great. And then I can actually ship from my home. I don't have to go to the USPS store because most of the items are small enough where it fits in my mailbox, so the mail carrier will take it for me. Of course, if it's bigger, then I'll go to the post office. But otherwise, if it's small enough, I just have to print out the label, put it in my mailbox, and I don't have to drive anywhere to drop it off. And as far as shipping supplies, most of these items are shipped USPS Ground Advantage. In Poshmark, you can actually request free USPS supplies. So all you have to do is go to the Seller Tools tab in Poshmark and request free USPS supplies. And they have like different things you can get. Like you can get boxes, you can get padded envelopes, but what I usually get are poly mailers because it doesn't have extra weight to it. It's very thin and it works out great for clothing items. So I usually get about 50 at a time, and yeah, the USPS mail carrier will deliver it to your house, and it's super convenient and free. But for anything that doesn't fit within the poly mailer or whatever supply that I got, then I will use my own items. Like I'll use reused shipping boxes, or I do have poly mailers of my own, and I just use that to ship out items. Like for example, if I have a FedEx shipment from Vinted, I can't use the USPS Ground Advantage poly mailer, so I'll just use a generic poly mailer that I got from Amazon. And then for packaging, I do like to wrap it up nicely in this colorful tissue paper. It's one of the more medium weight size tissue papers that I got on Amazon. Then I tape it with a thank you sticker. Yes, I can just tape it with normal tape, but I thought, why not? It doesn't cost much more to get these thank you stickers. Actually, it might be like the same price as getting regular tape. So, I thought it was like a nice extra touch just to thank your buyers, because I am very, very thankful that anybody buys my items. So just to let them know that I appreciate their purchase, I like to add a little bit of color and give them that cute little sticker. So once you ship out the item, you and the buyer will get a notification of the tracking information. Once the item ships, eBay will send the payment to you automatically, so you'll get that payment within days. For all the other platforms, it will take about a week or two to get the payment. And I think that's about it. I think that's my entire process. I mean, of course, I didn't mention the inventory part because I am a beginner. Once I advance to that stage, then I will make another video. But for now, I have a very, very small inventory, so I can just keep track of everything on a clothing rack. Whereas other, big time resellers, they have a full system going on with SKU numbers and stuff. But if you want to start out with SKU numbers, you might want to do that in the beginning too. So yeah, so that's about it. That's my whole process. So if you wanted to try it out, I hope this video helped you out and answered some questions. And if you have, additional questions, let me know in the comments and maybe I can make another video. Or if you have any other ideas of like videos you want me to do, based on this topic or any topic really, just let me know. I'd be happy to do them. This is like really fun for me. Thanks again for watching my other videos, and thank you for taking the time to write something to me. I've read all of your comments and I appreciate every single one of them. Okay, I think I've gone long enough. I'm gonna end this video now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.